Welcome to another edition of the Good and Plenty podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Goodman, and we got another great show for you today. It is Thursday, which means it's College Hoops edition of Good and Plenty, and we've got former Kentucky star Rex Chapman, and he's got some insight into the current modern version of the Kentucky Wildcats. He'll also tell you his story, fighting addiction, what he's had to deal with, and plenty of great stories from Rex Chapman, including those crazy Kentucky Wildcat fans. Remember, you can subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, CLNS Media. You can find me on Twitter at Goodman Hoops. You can also find me at watchstadium.com. Please give us your reviews. We appreciate it. Certainly use it to make the podcast as good as we can do, and we'll take your suggestions for how to do that, and also any guests that you'd like to see us bring on. But now we bring in Rex Chapman. Quick break to tell you today's show is also brought to you by Mint Mobile. There's nothing better about the holiday season than unwrapping a brand new phone until you get hit with your brand new monthly bill. Big wireless providers can really suck the joy out of the holidays. So this year, don't just upgrade your phone, upgrade your wireless provider and switch to Mint Mobile. For a limited time, Mint Mobile is offering the best holiday deal in wireless you've ever seen. 3 months of service for only $20. Mint Mobile's holiday deal is here for a limited time. $20 total gets you 3 months of wireless service with 5 gigabytes of 4G LTE data each month, plus unlimited talk and text. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan. You can keep your old phone number along with all your existing contacts. Mint Mobile runs on the nation's fastest, most advanced LTE network. And if you're not 100% satisfied, Mint Mobile has you covered with their 7-day money-back guarantee. Take advantage of this Mint Mobile holiday deal before it's gone. Get 3 months of wireless for $20 and get the plan shipped to your door for free by going to mintmobile.com/good. That's mintmobile.com/good. 3 months of service, just $20 at mintmobile.com/good. Now pleased to welcome in a guy that I've respected for a long, long time since, I don't know how old you are, Rex Chapman. How old are you? Are you about my age?
I'm 51. How old are you, Jeff?
I'm 47. So I can say as I was a kid, you were a little bit older than me. So but I really did respect you as a player, in terms of, again, like your game was so unique, I thought, back in the day, because you had the ability to obviously rise up in your athleticism, but you could also shoot it. And not too many guys had that type of combination that you had. I don't know if you still have it or not. You got any of it?
I appreciate that. No, I don't have any of that. I kept being dared to dunk it every year. And so, and for many years I went through some stuff and I was heavier. And for many years I couldn't dunk it, probably from about 40 to 46. And then I got in better shape, got myself healthy, and I did it for 4 years, and I quit last year at 50.
That's
and
it.
when I say dunk,
yeah,
it's basically a layup.
You barely
right
get it over.
Front.
Right.
Yeah, just sneaking it over the front. And then when I came down the last time, I hurt my back, so I said, "Nah, I'm done. I'll tear an Achilles or something." So, but it was fun playing, man. I enjoyed it. Shoot, wish I could still do it. There's nothing like it.
I saw that you tweeted out a video of Dr. J dunking it. What was it, 67, 69? Yeah, something like
67,
that.
yeah, something like that.
And he did kind of what you were talking about, but at 68, I don't care however you dunk,
exactly.
It's ridiculous.
And let's not forget, I saw him at the Hall of Fame thing a few weeks ago or a couple months ago, and he's closer to my size now. He's shrunk a little bit, so he's still good.
Don't we all? As you get older,
yeah.
Right? What's word?
Right.
I don't know what you were listed at. When you were in the NBA, what were you listed at?
Well, I know this. When I got to Kentucky, they were listing me at 6'5".
Yeah.
And I've never been barefoot. I've never been more than 6'3".
Yeah.
I'm probably 6'4" with shoes on. But no, and I think maybe I saw a 6'5.5" one time, which, come on. That's ridiculous. Somebody just making up numbers and putting them in the program.
But nobody cares. Nobody calls anybody on
But you're
it.
tall. How tall are you, Jeff?
I'm 6'3". I was at the Syracuse-Buffalo game last night. It was funny. The kid from Buffalo who's really – I mean, they got a great team, but this kid, C.J. Massenberg, who went for like 43 against West Virginia and then at 20 –
a little bit of that.
Yeah. So I'm interviewing him after the game, and it's a funny story. So a year and a half ago, I took my daughter to Niagara Falls. I try to take my daughter every year, just the two of us. You know, you want to do that. So I took her to Niagara Falls. I tweeted that I was in Niagara Falls, and Nate Oates, the head coach of Buffalo, texted me. He said, hey, you're here. Why don't you come by and just visit us? We're practicing or whatever. I said, all right, I'm kind of with my daughter. I don't really want to do it. I feel bad. But I scooted by, and I talked to the team for about 10 minutes. He had me talk to the team. I don't know why anybody would want me to talk to the team.
No, that's awesome, man. Shoot, that goes a long way with these guys.
Well,
that's awesome. And what a nice guy to ask you.
Well, they hadn't done anything. The funniest part was, they were coming off like a 17-14 season. I didn't know a lot of the players at that point.
Right.
And it was very cool to watch this group that was fairly anonymous a year and a half ago and what they've become now and how humble they are and how hard they work. That was the cool part.
I'm going to have to start the Niagara Jeff Goodman. I mean, come on, really?
Big time.
Yeah. Now, don't you feel sort of like a part of things there a little bit? You're rooting for them a little more?
Of course.
Be honest.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
That's awesome.
Listen, I root for any mid-major team that can climb into the top 20, first of all.
Me too.
Right?
Me too. I do too. Yeah, absolutely.
How about his story? His story is he was recruited by Prairie View. I think he said Prairie View A&M. And Buffalo took him. Nate Oates had never seen him. Made him try out when he came down for a visit. Made him try out, play against another dude, another recruit, beat the crap out of him. Got a scholarship, was going to go JUCO because he felt like he was better than Prairie View A&M. So he was going to go JUCO, and instead, look at him now.
Wow.
Awesome
That's
story.
Awesome.
I love those
That's
stories.
what you love to see.
Yeah.
I mean, guys, listen, I was fortunate enough to be on the publicity train when I was young somehow, kid from the Midwest, white kid from the Midwest. I was a McDonald's All-American. The guys that I like and, know all those guys. We played together and against one another forever. My favorite stories are the guys like Kendall Gill, who was not a McDonald's All-American, who we're in the same class. Other guys who just, they don't get there. Mitch Richmond, those type of guys who they were unheralded and they had to scrap and scrape and
what about Steph Curry? What about like a Steph Curry, who his dad well?
Well, that's one of my boys. Steph was born my rookie year. Used to babysit Steph once a week for about 4 years.
No
His
way.
parents would drop him off at my house or at my apartment 2 doors down.
That's cool.
Sonia, his mom would do my laundry, and they helped raise me, and I would babysit Steph while he was 1, 2, 3, 4-year-old, and just hope that he was alive when they came back to get him because I was an idiot.
Yes. Well, we all were back that age, right? That age, you're just like, what do I do with this kid, right?
Exactly. But that's my little buddy. I couldn't be more proud of he and Seth.
That's
just
awesome.
An unbelievable story.
So what are you doing now, Rex? What's kind of the modern day version of other than tweeting and you and I kind of having some fun going? And I think people probably think it's serious with the two of us going back and forth.
They probably do.
And I think
both
of us,
games.
yeah, of course. I mean, listen, this is don't take yourself too seriously.
Yeah,
and that's
a lot of things to be serious about in life, but not basketball.
No,
come on,
hell no.
You can't be sensitive in sports.
That you cannot. So what are you up to now?
I live here, and I was in Phoenix for about 20 years. Retired out there. After I finished playing, and my ex-wife and 3 daughters are out there. 1 in high school, 2 in college, and then my son who's in Kentucky. I moved to Los Angeles for a couple of years, and then I've been back here in Kentucky, in Lexington for about 2 years now. My son is with me here. He coaches high school ball. I I do Kentucky basketball, radio and TV stuff with the team. The university has been unbelievable to me over the years, as has JMI, the media arm here of University of Kentucky. Paul Archie, those guys have, said I was never in any trouble. I wasn't a party guy. I wasn't, I didn't seek that type of life. I didn't have the Hornets couldn't have beer in the locker room my rookie year because I was underage.
Really?
And yeah, I was the youngest player in the league at 20, and Kareem was the oldest at 41.
Wow.
My pops played against Kareem in the ABA. So that's kind of some neat little trivia.
That's
but
cool.
I probably didn't have my first beer until I was 22. I couldn't, I didn't go and do much of anything when I was in college, just because I couldn't go anywhere. It was a different sort of existence back then in college sports, and my friends would want to go out, and of course everybody wants to go out. You're in college, you want to go to the bars, you want to go to parties and have fun and stuff, and we'd go to bars and stuff, and they wouldn't let me in. They'd be like, Rex, man, we can let other guys in, but if we let you in, they're going to call the cops.
Everybody knows.
Right.
Yeah.
So I ended up, myself and Reggie Hansen, we were roommates, and we ended up having our own actual, because there were no fobs or anything at the time. We had our own actual hard keys to Memorial Coliseum, where we could go any time of day or night. So that's just what we did. But when I finished playing basketball, I was 32 or 33, and I'd had 7 surgeries my last 3 years. Rod in my leg, and screws in my ankles, and hands and wrists, feet, bones fused and whatnot. And the doctor gave me something called OxyContin for a routine appendix surgery. And long story short, mainly because I hate talking about it.
Yeah.
But about 14 years of painkiller addiction, on and off, and about 3 rehab stints and detoxes and all that. But about four years ago, I went to rehab. A really good friend of mine in Kentucky was a former roommate also of mine in college named Paul Andrews. He runs a hospital here, a rehabilitation center called the Brook. I went to the Brook, and 4 years later, I haven't had a painkiller. I haven't had what I would consider withdrawals. I'm just very lucky. I try to stay as busy as I can, but through all that, that was very public and all of that. And UK has always been great to me. The Charlotte Hornets, I'm going to do some pregame, postgame stuff with them here over the holidays and the second half of the season in Charlotte. They've been great to me. The NBA, they have me come back and do NBA TV and be involved with young players and kind of mentoring and whatnot. So I've got a blessed life to have fallen and, tried to pick myself up and carry on. A lot of people have family, friends. I have a lot more people cared about me than I ever knew, just as a person.
Yeah, you thought it was all about basketball.
Yeah,
you
basketball.
retire and you probably feel like, what do I do now?
Yeah, Jeff, the one thing that I go back to, and I try to, everybody I tell this to, immediately they sort of go, yeah, I can imagine. From about age 7 or 8, I was playing basketball. My dad was a coach, and I would take the bus from my school, as a grade schooler, over to his school. After school, he coached high school basketball, and I'd do my homework, and then I'd mess around with the ball and watch his practices. So I grew up around the game.
Yeah.
But from about age 7 or 8, if you play basketball, and I was fortunate to play for a long time, but let's call it 25 years, 4 or 5 times a day, if you play sports, you're out there, you're physically exerting yourself, and whether you're playing in games or practices, about 4 or 5 times a day, you get that kind of flex. You feel good. The crowd goes crazy, and there's an endorphin rush, and you don't even know. You just think you're playing basketball.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, you retire, there's none of that. You don't get to go and do it in practice. You don't get to feel that, when you just,
it's gone.
Give a guy a bucket in a practice in the scrimmage, or whether it's in front of, it's just gone. It's gone. And some guys do better with it than others. I thought I would play golf and chase my kids around forever.
Yeah.
And about 6 months of that, I was going crazy. And unfortunately, I found that painkiller, and it sort of filled that void for me, not in the best way. I'm lucky to be alive. At one point, I was really eating about 40 Vicodin and about 10 OxyContin a day at my worst.
Wow.
And, if I woke up today and tried to take 10% of that, I'd die. So my tolerance was built up. Just very lucky.
What was it, Rex? What was it finally that got you, for the last 4 years to flip to whereas you could handle this now?
I got in trouble out in Phoenix. I had some trouble with the law, and just my decision making was getting worse and worse. And people around it, everybody around it could see me, but just couldn't see it.
Rex? Was that the Apple, the incident at the Apple store, which was right? I mean, that was public.
Yeah, it's all public. Yeah.
Video. I mean, that was.
I've never watched the video just because I can't bring myself to. I see it from, it'll come up, pop up on Twitter or Google or something from time to time, and I just can't bring myself to watch it. Also, Seth Davis wrote a great article, not long after all that I still haven't read, and it's a good article by all accounts.
I read it. It is a good article. I've read it.
Yeah, and all my family friends, it's great. I just can't bring myself to read it. It's just, it's just hard.
Yeah.
So, but I do a lot of speaking. I go out and I speak to groups, and again, it's not. I'm getting where I like doing it more. I do it because I really feel an obligation. I know that there were, from John Calipari to Rick Pitino to Kenny Payne to Danny Ainge to many people that, you wouldn't know their names.
Sure.
That just had words for me during a really hard time. I mean, during a really hot period of 6 months, right? When everything's going on and I'm in rehab and I'm, going and trying to get better. But I'd isolated myself. I had, skipped out on some friendships and relationships. And so I burned some bridges temporarily. And, I'm fortunate to feel like I've been able to bridge some of those, and I'm still doing work on some of that stuff. But yeah, I think the main thing was my kids, it killed me to know that they were worried about me. It killed me to know that I'd embarrassed them. And, I just wanted to make a commitment to try to right, the wrongs that I'd made over a few years and just try to become a better person and learn more about life outside of basketball. So that's what I've been trying to do.
How much of it with the addiction is, the physical at first, right? And the feeling of feeling better. And then does it become emotional then and where you just need it for your mental stability?
Yeah, I think you got it right. Pretty much right. Everyone takes it to, and look, it's not taking the pain away. It's just blocking the pain receptors. So, and I've had to learn all this over the years. So, but yeah, initially you take it and, when you're playing, you have all these acute little things. If I took a Vicodin, my ankle would feel better, temporarily. The thing is, you have to keep taking them. Yeah. And then you got to take more of them. And then they hook you because, and OxyContin especially, that drug it's a monster. I always also had some social anxiety, feeling like sort of an outcast. People were looking at me when I walk in the mall or to dinner or something like that.
They wanted to be you, Rex. Rex, they wanted to be you.
No, but people would come up and talk, and listen, they don't know me. Right. I don't know them. Right. What are we going to talk about? Of course, we're going to talk about basketball. Yeah. And you know what? I've learned to love that at this point. I didn't love it forever, and what I realized was that OxyContin, it lowered my defenses. That's about the best way I can put it, and made me feel like I see other people look like they feel, if that makes sense. Like they're just going about their life, not a care in the world, not thinking about, just not in their head. And that drug made me feel like I wasn't in my head, just too deep all the time. It slowed me from a brain running at like 110 miles an hour to 80. And that was pleasant for a period. And then, everybody says first drugs are fun, then it's drugs and problems, and then it's just problems. So that's pretty much how I look at it at this point.
All right. Well, let's get on to something a little bit lighter.
More uplifting.
Yeah. Let's go lighter. And listen, I'm very happy that you're happy. That's the best part of all this, is that you're happy, that you're doing well, that you're enjoying life and you're enjoying your family. That's awesome. And
yeah. Well, thanks. I appreciate it.
You're enjoying.
I'm still work in progress. Yeah.
You're enjoying this version of the Kentucky Wildcats probably more than some are right now. You're Mr.
I really
Positive.
am.
Yeah, I know you're Mr. Positive here. I assume a lot of the people in Lexington are the sky is falling, and I'm going to see this team twice here in the next week or so. I'm going to see them this weekend.
Are you going to Carolina? Good.
I'm going to Chicago. Yep, Chicago for the Carolina
Chicago,
game.
sorry. Yeah.
You won't be at that one?
No, I'm not going to do it. We're going to do a radio show from here.
Are you?
I would have, but it's right around the holidays. I've got family coming in, so we'll do the show from here. So I won't see you there. Where else will you see us play?
So I'm going to bring my daughter for the Louisville, Kentucky game.
I almost said Freedom Hall.
The
Young
Center, yes.
Right.
I'm going to bring her.
You've been there, right?
I've been there plenty. She's never, every game I've ever brought her to has been like a double header in a neutral court, or the Thanksgiving Day tournaments where there's just no, and she's a freshman in high school. So I want her to see, like, she's got her, she wants to go to like an NYU. She's in, music, acting.
I get it. Yeah. Arts. Yeah. Well, awesome.
But I want her to see what a big time college environment is about. So, and I'm going to bring her like next year to like Michigan football or something.
Yeah.
Just so she can understand.
Just don't take her to any of the second tier programs like Duke or UCLA. Or
I'll agree with you on UCLA right now.
Like Villanova. Don't go to any of the Arizona, those schools.
Hey, I went to school in Arizona. Hey, there you go. Taking a shot at listen, the Pac-12, as I've said, the Pac-12 stinks right now.
Yeah. Well, I just call them the JV Wildcats.
That's good. Listen, right now they're both JV Wildcats, including Villanova.
7-2, baby.
So
we're 7-2.
All right, so give me. I tweeted this to you, and give me your, defense for why Kentucky should be in the top 25 right now. What I say to it is, on the resume itself, they've done nothing to warrant being a top 25 team. They were blown out, as we saw in the opener against Duke.
I do. Yeah.
Blown out. And, I mean, their best win is UNC Greensboro right now, right? That's their best. Utah. Utah. Are
you asking me to defend the 7-2 team as like a top 25 team just on the team resume, or are you asking me why I think that this team is a legitimate team that's still a Final Four type team?
So you're saying, like, based on their resume today, you agree with me that it probably isn't deserving necessarily of a locked top 25?
I think I don't think there are 15 good teams in the country. I really don't. I never do.
Yeah.
I'm
kind of with you.
Go right straight Virginia last year. I wasn't a Virginia fan all year. I liked what they did. I appreciated what they did. I'll never be on the Virginia bandwagon again, ever. I mean, come on. Then they were supposed to be like the team.
They were dominant in the regular season. They were really, really good.
Okay. Yeah, well.
You don't trust them.
No, I don't trust them. Come on, I'll never trust. I can't trust. How can you trust them now? I'm pulling for them. I had a huge Virginia crush when I was a kid. Ralph Sampson, Jeff Jones played point guard, played at my high school for my dad, Apollo. So every way kind of still hurts me that they went out like they did last year. Maybe I'm just overcompensating a little bit. I'm hurt that they sucked in the tournament and the number one seed and got beat.
You got to talk to Kyle Guy. You seriously, you got to. You would be blown away.
Why?
You'd be blown away
Kyle Guy.
by how he speaks and how they face this thing head on and aren't trying to hide from it.
Good.
Like, I was really impressed with their maturity. Now, maybe they get knocked out again early. They might.
They might. It's like me. What am I going to do? I'm going to get defensive about my people bringing up my drug abuse? Come on, no. You better embrace it.
Yeah. Yeah. You got no choice.
Embrace the bad.
Right.
You got no choice. You look silly if you don't.
Yeah. True. But he's a young kid.
What I'll say, Kentucky.
Yeah.
My guys, we have, in my opinion, and we argued about Kevin Knox this time last year.
We did. We were like in between on that one, right? You said
right.
top.
I definitely was. Early, I thought, he's a top 5 or 6 pick, and you were like, no. I mean, later in the first round, and then I was really more swayed by your argument as the season wore on, and he ends up going 8. So, I think Keldon Johnson right now, he is so much more together and
I love him.
Put together and has a more mature game than Keldon, than even Kevin Knox has right now. Now they're different. Kevin's 6'8", 6'9", and long, and Keldon's more 6'5", 6'6", but he's a pro.
He's a killer.
Killer.
Yep.
Tyler Hero. I know people are kind of sleeping on Tyler again. They've fallen back asleep.
Because he didn't make shots early, right? He didn't make shots early. Man.
That's all right. Hey, here's what I know about Tyler. You've got to be willing to fight someone out on the basketball court, literally fight them for 3 seconds until the referee splits you up. Yeah. And if you can't ever get over that as an athlete, I'm not being a proponent in high school of this type of stuff, but at some point you got to start fighting for what's yours, really. And if you're not willing to at some point just drop the gloves and say, all right, look, we can do this right here, right now. Tyler Hero has that in spades. Now, he didn't play against the greatest competition in Wisconsin, just like I didn't play against the greatest competition in Kentucky.
Sure.
But he's got something, and I know this. He's got a big league stroke.
Yep.
They're asking him right now to do some things that he hasn't done before, mid-range floaters and leaners, and he's getting better by the day, and he lives in the gym, as does Keldon. Then we got E.J. Montgomery, who's coming on. Key to our team, and we have Reed Travis, who's just a luxury for us, a kid, 4-year kid, coming from Stanford, a double-double machine, gives us, a grown-up on the team that we haven't had. P.J. Washington, that's the guy. I mean, if P.J. plays like he played in New York every night, and I don't need him to get 30, but I do need him to get 15 and 10.
Right.
I do.
Yep.
And I've told him this. The coaches have told him this. Everybody. And P.J. can do that. His biggest thing right now, the game has always come so easy for him. Great athlete, long as can be, And
so
when he exerts himself, he has success. He's got to exert himself all the time and not play on cool duty.
So Rex, the key, you've gone through everything. I agree with everything you've said so far. Love Keldon. Hero's going to be fine. You got the bigs. Reed and PJ are both, productive bigs. Yep. The big thing for me, why they haven't been, and you know what I'm going to say, is point guard play.
Well, I haven't talked about my point guard yet.
Okay, go ahead.
So Ashton Hagans should still be in high school. Over the last 3 weeks, months, he's taken over the starting role, end to end. And I'm putting anybody and everybody you can think of, from Gary Payton to Gary Grant to every ball hawk you've ever seen.
Gary Grant.
Ashton Hagans, how about that?
I like that.
Had to pick up full court, baseline to baseline. I don't know if I've seen anybody any better. Gene Smith from the Georgetown days, my guy Gene Smith, like that. Only 6'2", 6'3", strong and powerful. He gets away with stuff right now just on the physical. He'll get beat technically. He'll mess up his footwork, and then he'll still make up for it, block a shot. He's going to be terrific. Offensively, he's just got to figure things out. He's going too fast at times, but he's slowly getting there, making big strides. Had a big and one the other night, just, brought the house down. Yeah. And then we got Emmanuel Quickly, who I love just as much. They're completely different.
Yeah, very different.
Very different. Emmanuel is more finesse, lighter. He's wiry. A little better offensive game right now, putting the ball in the basket than Ashton. But I like and here's the other thing. They hang on every word, Jeff. They are yes or no, sir. They want to do this. They want to be good kids and asking questions all the time. So this is a good group. Anytime you get beat by 30 by Duke on opening night, it's going to be a bad loss in the days of 24-hour news cycle, social media, all that. It's a really bad loss. It's going to take some time to get over that. But I sure hope we play those guys again. And maybe they beat us again.
Yep.
Guess what? It's a one-game deal, dude. It's a one-game deal, like my guy Eddie Sutton said. Used to say all the time, I want to tell you one thing, guys. In a series, we beat these guys. But tonight, they could beat us.
Yeah.
It's true. I started learning that when I was a freshman. Yeah.
How important do you think these next two games are in terms of resume even? Because if you don't win these next two, and I think they could go 2-0, I think they could go 1-1, I think they could go 0-2, and I wouldn't be shocked at any of those three scenarios. But if you don't, let's say you go 0-2, the SEC is not as good as we thought it was going to be this year. It's good. It's better than it was 4 or 5 years ago, but it's not great. How much pressure does that put on this team then to have a great SEC season? I guess, listen, if you don't, you're maybe an 8, 9, 10 seed as opposed to now you're not looking at a 1 seed anyway at this point.
Yeah, I mean, look, I as you can imagine, probably I don't get hung up on the seeding. I really don't. If you're now, look, I'd like to be a top 4 seed.
Sure.
But if not, we've done, I think, what were we the one year? We were 8 or 9. We played Wichita State, and we stomped that year. We made it to the championship game with Julius Randle's team and James Young's team. And that team was the most painful team to watch that I've watched in the last 30 years of Kentucky basketball, save 2 years of Billy Gillespie.
Hey, don't even get me started on Billy Clyde.
I love Billy G. I love Billy Clyde. He's a good guy.
He's not a good guy. He's not a good guy.
Well, okay.
That's a different podcast. That's a completely
different podcast.
I've talked to enough players who have played for him, including some at Ranger Junior College. Billy Gillespie it's questionable.
Will you give me this?
Yeah, go
Will
ahead.
you give me this?
Yeah.
I give him a little bit of a pass because I know he's had some issues.
Okay, fair.
All right. How about
fair.
that?
That's, listen, absolutely fair on that one. I will give you 100%.
Okay.
Now, that does not give him a right to treat people sometimes in the way he has treated people. That's the only thing I would say to that.
I would agree with that. Well, let's do this one the next time.
Absolutely. You're right. We can't go there and bring it back. It's too hard.
Yeah, and bring it back.
I agree.
It'd be too difficult.
I think these next two games are important for Kentucky. Very important.
I do too. Look, Carolina, our fans, I'm still upset we don't play Indiana every year just as an old 50-year-old guy.
And Cal and Arch are pretty close. I'll give you a story. I'll give you a quick story on Cal and Arch that I make fun of Arch for all the time.
Mm-hmm.
We're at, it might have been Hooters in Augusta at the Peach Jam. I think it was actually. Okay. And I walk in and it's Sean Miller, it's Archie, it's Cal.
Did they have to twist everybody's arm to get them to Hooters?
Everybody used to go. Everybody. I mean, you'd have every coach in America that would be there. It was crazy back. This was back maybe 10 years ago.
Hard time.
So at this point, I'm not getting along with Cal. And I still don't have a great, very good relationship with him, but I respect the hell out of him.
We'll have to work on that.
we could work on that.
I love him.
No, I do. I respect the hell out of him. I think he's the best recruiter in the country. I think he's a way better coach than people give him credit for. And I think he deals with people. He deals with people and kids and gets them motivated and gets them ready for the NBA as well as anybody. So listen, my personal issues aside, which I don't really care. Like, to me, I have personal issues with a lot of coaches hate me. So it is what it is.
You're in a listen, man. Again, that's why you say we can't be. I remember when I got to college, and all of a sudden, everything that had ever been written, everything had only been written nice about me. And then I get to college, and now I got Jerry Tipton, who's still here, local beat writer, been here forever, who's dissecting me in practice and stuff, or dissecting me in a game when I went 3 for 9 as a freshman, and innately, as an 18-year-old, it infuriates you.
Can't handle
it. But the older you get, you realize you guys have a job, man.
Yep.
And you're not trying. It's not personal. It's not personal.
I'm not. No, you're not. Like, people think like they're like you're biased. I'm like, I'm not.
Yeah, you got
biased
against this guy or that guy.
Right. Like, I don't have anything against anybody. Everybody went in with the same clean slate with me, and. Yeah, there are certain guys.
But would you agree?
Go ahead.
Would you agree, Jeff, that the guys that you don't have a great personal relationship with, it's tough to give them those little words that you can write or say that would
we're human.
Be endearing.
We're human. So I think that's what you're getting at, is we're human.
Yes, I think.
So absolutely. Is it easier to hammer somebody if you've got the same information on two guys, one of which you get along great with, the other of which you don't get along great with?
Yeah.
Is it easier to hammer the guy that you – yeah, but I will say this. Yeah. Listen.
You try not to.
The coach I've been closest with over the last 15 years is Paul Hewitt. He's no longer a coach. He's in the NBA as a scout for the Clippers. Yeah. I put him in the hot seat twice, 2 years in a row.
Nice.
Like, listen.
Way to go, friend.
You got to do your job. Yeah, I mean, you got to do your job.
What a good friend, man. Way to go.
But I feel like, again, I don't know.
I'm giving you a hard time.
No, man. But I get it.
That's your job. You got to be. Yeah. Well, listen. I get people that come up all the time, and what do you think of my son out there? You know, you playing an AAU thing, or what do you think of him? What do you think? I can maybe BS you on some things, though I cannot.
I cannot. Yeah.
My basketball integrity means too much. That this thing, if you ask me, I'm going to tell you, and it might not be what you want to hear. Now, and if it's not, I'm not going to be mean about it. Right. I'm going to try to get my point across.
Do it the right
without,
way.
Yeah. I mean, these are parents and all that, but it's the same thing. You can't sacrifice your integrity just of what you've known and what you know and have learned over the years. You know what you're talking about, right?
No doubt. I need to wake up and go to sleep okay. And somebody told me when I first got in, they said, listen, if everybody loves you in this business, you are not doing your job the right way.
Yeah.
You're not.
That's very true.
It
it's
sucks,
hard having those conversations, right, with the guys that you burn a little bit.
No doubt.
But if you're committed, if they have an issue with you've gotten to the point where look, I may get a call from him tomorrow, and I'm going to have to deal with this like a big boy. Use my word.
Yep.
Be as diplomatic as I can, but also, be honest. We can have a difference, but you got to be able to address it. And I appreciate about all you guys that are serious pros.
I apologized to Tubby Smith about 3-4 years ago at a Coach's First Cancer event. I was sitting next to him, and I had hammered him. Well, I'd hammered him at the end of the Kentucky regime, saying like he couldn't recruit at a high level. And I was young. I was younger. Yeah, it was like 15 years ago.
Our talent level had dropped.
But what I didn't get, Rex, here's what I didn't get. And this is what I told them. I said, at that stage of my career, I didn't quite understand that you weren't on the same playing field as a lot of these other guys. You weren't doing what they were doing to get players.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, I know.
Listen, you got to be a big boy, and when you screw up,
you got to grind.
So hey, speaking of that one, So what happened after a few years ago? You said Cal was gone to the Lakers. I forget what year, 2014, 15?
Oh, my God. Are we going
What?
to bring that up?
Yeah. I have to, because I want to know what Cal said to you.
We've talked
About that?
Probably. Yeah, we talked about it immediately following. However, at the time, I was for sure not my best self.
Got it.
Not in my best frame of mind. But it was at the Final Four. Someone asked me something, and I don't know. I said something about Cal going to the Lakers, and it was going to happen, after the game. Something like, I regret it. It's one of the dumbest things I've done.
It is,
don't have real consequences. I'm glad that the team was already out on the floor and nobody knew about any of it until, an hour or so after the game. And coaches or anybody. But we talked. Cal has been great to me. I, without giving up a name, talked to somebody in his circle who really felt like that could be a possibility. I've come to find out, though, that guy really didn't know what he was talking about, and not really as tight in that circle as maybe I thought at the time. So that's about the best I can give you.
I thought Cal was just trying to get a raise and doing it through you,
like we were colluding.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Maybe you were getting a percentage.
Well, if that's the key, I need my cut.
Exactly.
If that is the deal, I need my cut.
So give me, before I let you go on this, give me, because I'm one who's actually changed my home number because of Kentucky fans getting a hold of it. So I want your favorite crazy Kentucky fan story. And before you go with it, I do want to say to Kentucky fans that are listening to this, I love every single one of you. Every one of you.
Yeah. It's a people here. It's just a way of life, and it's different. It's different than even Indiana basketball or Carolina or Duke, and I say that or UCLA. So much to do in UCLA and Hollywood and LA. So many entertainment options at Duke, UNC, Indiana. There's Wake Forest is right there for Duke, and there's a split allegiance here. There's about I can tell you, I actually know this. It's about 80% Kentucky basketball fans throughout the state to 20 for Louisville. And in the cities, the city of Louisville, it's 51-49 supposedly.
Wow.
Louisville. So, and it just tells you it's cold here right now. What else are you going to do? You're going to go watch the Wildcats play. And the crazy thing about here too is I run into people all the time, just out. I'll see somebody and they'll tell me, they got all their gear. They didn't go to UK. They've never stepped on UK's campus. Got no affiliation to the school whatsoever. But from the time they've been little, their grandfather or mother or father said, "Hey, come on in. Come on, guys. It's time to go. Cats are on." And everybody watches Kentucky basketball here. So it's just sort of a way of life. I've had my ups and downs with fans over the years. But again, they've been so good to me. I just love them to death. And
give me one. Give me one crazy.
I give you one story.
Yeah, give me one that sticks out of like just, and it could be crazy good, crazy bad, like somebody having you sign something, body part.
Well, that happens all the time.
All the time.
That still happens, even in the bathrooms too, and that's the grossest.
Oh man,
bow out if it happens in the bathrooms. But so many of them are probably too tough for the podcast. I will tell you this. The other day, I had a guy come up to me and say, he came up and he recognized me at the gas station and said, "Hey, Rex, do you know if you'd have just been more, if you'd have just acted like we want you to act, how good your life could be?"
Nice.
And I said, "What?" And he goes, "Yep." And he walks away and turns around and says, this was actually last season, and turns around and says, "We beat Alabama on Friday." And I said, yeah. And he goes, all right, have a good night.
That's great. Classic.
I mean, he just bashed me for a second.
Yep.
And then, yeah, so hey.
Well, I was worried. I took my wife to the Kentucky Derby a couple of years ago, and I was a little bit worried because I'm like, all right, drunk Kentucky fans with my wife there. But I'll tell you what, 99.9 were awesome. Not good. And that's what I think. Like Twitter fans, Kentucky. Whether it's Kentucky, NC State. Listen, Arizona fans hate me. They do. They hate me.
You know this, though, Jeff. Everywhere you go, though, and I'm sure it's much the same, the social media is so toxic in so many ways. People will say things on there, nameless, faceless, and if you get wrapped up in it, you're going to drive yourself crazy. I almost never, this guy was an exception at the gas station. I almost never have someone come up to me and be belligerent or mean or anything other than supportive in person. They, and everybody, come up, say hi, take pictures, do all that stuff. Nobody is ever, I think we've blown this whole social media thing up to a point where it's a little bit artificial. No, the venom and
can we start it over? Can we start it over?
Yeah, let's just start it over. Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I mean, seriously, wouldn't you love to just like, all right, let's scrap everything social media and can we start it over and maybe have some different
reboot this?
Yeah, different rules for how we conduct ourselves.
Rules. Yeah.
And I'm at fault too. Listen, but most of what I do is honestly, like I'll retweet people that make fun of me and are creative about it.
Yeah, me too.
Like if you're good and you come at me
with something funny.
Yes. If you're creative, I'm all for it, man. Like, but don't tell me
that's right.
I look like Corky from whatever that show is. Yeah. Like I heard that enough. Yeah. Like that one doesn't do anything for me anymore. Yeah. Come up with something strong.
Hey Rex, where'd you get your Apple phone? Ha ha ha! You write your own material, dude. Come on,
exactly.
Come on, man. Like, I made those jokes on me.
Right, exactly. Like that's not doing anything to me.
Those to me.
I just the ones again. I'm sure this gets you too. Is when your kids are around. Like those are the ones, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Don't do
that. At
that
point, you just kind of have to give a look.
Right.
Yeah,
that's
like,
right.
Come on, dude.
Yep. Yeah. And that'll be interesting. Like even next week at Louisville. Like that'll be an interesting one because I'm gonna have my daughter with me for a couple days.
Yeah,
I think everybody, they'll be fine. They'll be fine.
They'll be great with you for sure. They'll be great with you.
Well, listen,
I'm telling you, if you have a problem, I'll be at the game. If you have a problem,
all right, you're gonna be my bodyguard.
I got you, dude.
But you don't look as intimidating now. I gotta say, although with a bald head, bald head,
intimidating.
Well, you were a little heavier then.
Oh yeah, well maybe it's less intimidating now.
Actually,
or no?
I think you're more intimidating now. I think you're more intimidating. You had a little bit. Didn't you have some hair? Like you weren't completely bald.
Probably. I still have some.
Do you?
The deal is though, if I grow it out for more than 3 or 4 days, somehow I pull off long hair, bald hair, and gray hair.
That's a bad
the
combo.
Ugliest, nastiest thing you've ever seen. I could grow a gray-haired mullet that starts about midway back on my side head.
Could you really?
Yeah, I'm sure I could.
You got to do
I wouldn't
that.
Risk it.
You got to do that in a week. Take a picture, then shave that thing right off. Because
right.
I'm gray. I'm full gray at this point. But when I start going bald, it's all coming off.
You got to make it. I think I've determined you got to make it look like you want it like this.
That's right.
Because you can't you can't just have some scraps up there that look terrible. And that's what I would have.
Yeah.
I've got a little bitty dark mustache. The rest of my face is almost white now. It's so awful.
Well, listen,
it's not for sissies.
We got to get together in Louisville when I come down there. We'll get together before the game for sure. I really appreciate you doing this. It's honestly, it's great to hear that you're doing as well as you are. And again, I hope you're right about your Cats. I do, because I think college basketball.
Well, I was going to tell you.
They need Kentucky.
What's your daughter's name?
Talia. Talia.
What is it? Talia.
Talia. Yeah. Talia.
Okay. Talia. Tell Talia that you're making your Final Four reservations to watch the Kentucky Wildcats, and she'll get a good dose of them next week at the Louisville game. and then she'll be on board for the Wildcats, the varsity Wildcats, not the Arizona JV Wildcats.
All right, I'm gonna tell her. I don't think she's gonna appreciate it very much, but I don't know who she's gonna.
Right,
The hard part for her is what does she do cheering for the games at Louisville? Like, this is a tough one.
Right. You know what I think? In my opinion, there is if you're not really, you don't have a preference.
Yeah.
I'm always of the opinion you sort of go with the
underdog.
squad.
You go with the underdog.
Yeah.
I think that's what she's done.
Well, maybe go with the underdog, but what'll be crazy is you'll see, and I don't know how long it's been since you've been to a UK U of L game. A while, or have you ever been?
How say that again? How many times I've been?
How long? Have you been to a UK U of L game in a while?
I've been to probably 5 of them, but I haven't been a few years, a couple years.
It's amazing how it doesn't matter if the game's in Louisville, which it will be, how many blue, people, Kentucky blue fans will be in that building. And it almost never happens the other way around when we play them here. Yeah. It's almost all blue with a little pocket of red. It's just a weird place, but man, what a great atmosphere.
I can't wait to see you. And again, listen, thanks for jumping on, and I'll see you after. Have a Merry Christmas. I'll see you after.
You too. Happy holidays, Jeff.
Thanks, Rex. Thanks for joining us in another edition of the Good and Plenty podcast in the books. Thanks to my guest, Rex Chapman, who was absolutely terrific. And again, it's great to see him doing well and giving us his take on the Kentucky Wildcats. He's certainly got more confidence than I do in this team turning it around. I think they can be pretty good. I really do. But point guard play is going to be important. And Ashton Hagans, I think, is the guy, especially with the talent. Once Tyler Hero really gets it going, Keldon Johnson, as you were saying, those two wings I think are terrific. And they're young. Both freshmen. Hero struggled a little bit early, and you've got a lot of bigs to throw in there and figure out who's the guy. But I think it is Reed Travis and P.J. Washington. Those guys are productive, solid. You know what you're going to get. They're kind of lunch pail guys. And Nick Richards and Montgomery probably going to have to wait their turn a little bit here. And I don't know, how this rotation will play itself out. They'll need those guys at some point in time. Cal will. But I think this team gets better, and in the next week or two, we're going to know how good they are because, Carolina at the United Center, at Louisville, 2 games that are critical, I think, for their confidence going into SEC play. Again, you can subscribe to the podcast, iTunes, Stitcher, CLNS Media. You can find me on Twitter at Goodman Hoops. You can also find me at watchstadium.com. And please come back every Tuesday and Thursday for Good and Plenty. Thanks for joining us.
Hey sports fans, I'm Coach Nick of the B-Ball Breakdown podcast on the CLNS Media Network. I break down the NBA from a coach's perspective and have some of the best basketball minds join me weekly to discuss the latest NBA news and what's truly going on the court. Subscribe to the B-Ball Breakdown podcast wherever you get your podcasts or find us on clnsmedia.com. It's a great conversation. You in?